Hey guys, it's Saleh. Today I'm gonna show you a strategy which is super simple and yet the result of it is pretty great. It's a trend following strategy, but you could kind of say it's a mini version because we're gonna use limit order to open the position at a pullback. Now I'm not gonna write the code of the strategy myself, instead I will be using GPT to convert the logic of the strategy. So that means the entry and the exit rules of it into Python code so we can run some backtest on it and see some charts and numbers. So you're gonna see that even if your Python knowledge isn't great, you can get started. So if that sounds good, let's get to it. The main indicator of this strategy is called TEMA, which stands for Triple Exponential Moving Average. So let's look it up on TradingView and add two of it. Change the period of them to be 10 and 80. Now the entry rule is very simple. When this orange line, which is TEMA with the period of 10, goes above the purple line, which is TEMA with the period of 80, we consider that an uptrend. When it's vice versa, we consider it a downtrend. But first, I want to show you the difference between the TEMA indicator and the good old EMA. So let's disable the one with the period of 80 for a second, add the regular EMA, change its period to equal the same, which is 10. All right, so this orange line here is TEMA with the period of 10, and the blue one is EMA with the period of 10. So they have the same period, but let's see how they behave. So for instance, in here, you see when the price starts to go up, the TEMA indicator, which again is this orange line, starts to go up way faster. Now, for example, in here where the price starts to go down, you can see the TEMA line goes down way faster. Now, to summarize it, you know the issue with moving averages, which is they are lagging indicators. Well, if you use TEMA instead of the good old EMA, you're going to have less lag, or in other words, it moves significantly faster. All right, so let's change this back to what it was, bring back the TEMA with the period of 80 to have our entry rule. Now, the second rule of the strategy is that we don't want to just look into the short-term trend. We also want to look at the long-term trend. Now, for that, I'm going to use the same indicator, except with values of 20 and 70, but on the bigger time frame. Specifically, I want to use the 4-hour time frame. Now, before I forget, the trading time frame for this strategy is 30 minutes, which is why it is considered a day trading strategy. All right, next we want to use a volatility filter, and as most of my strategies, I'm going to use the ADX in here. So basically, whenever this red line goes above the green line here, which is our threshold, we want to take the trade, or for example, in here. All right, next I want to use some kind of oscillator, and for this strategy I'm going to use the Shande momentum indicator. So let's look it up on TradingView. Now it is some kind of oscillator very similar to RSI, but the main difference you should care about is that it moves faster. It is more sensitive to the price change. So just like the TEMA indicator, which was more sensitive to the good old EMA, the Shande momentum oscillator, or CMO for short, is also more sensitive compared to a traditional oscillator such as the RSI. And the entry rule is very simple. So the threshold is at 40 and also minus 40. So basically, whenever this line is above our threshold, we want to look for long trades, and whenever it is below minus 40, we want to look for short trades. All right, so now we have all the entry rules of the strategy. And as for the position sizing, as always, I'm gonna risk 3% of my capital per each trade. But for the entry price, what I want to do is I want to use a limit order because I want to buy at a pullback. So I'm going to keep it simple. I will buy at 1 ATR below the current price for a long position and do the opposite for a short position. All right, so I think now is a good time to actually go and code this thing so we can run some backtest. Now, to use this service, you have two options. One is to use the cloud version, which is hosted by us, which you need to sign up for free to get started with, or you can watch my previous video where I explain how to self-host it by yourself, which is better if you have privacy concerns, or let's say you want to use premium models without paying us anything. So choose one of the two. But in this video, I'm going to use the cloud version. As the LLM model, I have selected Claude 3.7 Sonnet. You can select whichever you think works best, but in my cases, Claude usually works best. And as for the instruction, Here it is. So write a trend following strategy. The short-term trend must be 1, representing an uptrend. To determine this, use the TEMA indicator with a period of 10, which should be above the TEMA with a period of 80. If it's vice versa, the trend is down. So, basically just what I showed you. For the long-term trend, use the same indicator with the period of 20 and 70. So let's also ask it to use the 4 hours time frame, except to use the 4 hours time frame. For a volatility filter, use the ADX indicator. Its values must be above 40 to take any trades. Also use the Chande momentum indicator as an oscillator. For long trades, its value must be above 40. For short trades, do the exact opposite of the above conditions. For position sizing, risk 3% of the available margin per trade. For the entry price of the trades, use the limit order 1 ATR below the entry price. For the stop loss, use 4 times of the current ATR below the entry price. For exiting the trade, the stop loss must be as described above, and the take profit must be 3 times the ATR indicator. And that's it. So I just told it basically what I need, just the entry and exit rules. So let's hit enter and see how it writes the code. All right, so here it is. This is the short-term trend. It's using TEMA with a period of 10 and 80. It's returning either 1 or -1. For long-term trend, it is using the 4 hours time frame and periods of 20 and 70, which is exactly what I asked for. Then it defined the ATR, the ADX, the CMO, and for shoot long, which is where we specify the entry rules of the strategy for short positions, it's saying the short-term trend must be 1, the long-term trend must be 1, the ADX must be above 40, and so should the CMO. For short positions, it's saying that the trends must be -1, the ADX must be above 40, the CMO must be below -40. For position sizing, the entry price is a limit order 1 ATR below the current price. This is correct. The stop loss is 4 times of the current ATR minus the entry price. It is risking 3% using the risk to quantity utility function of Jesse to make sure we never lose more than 3% of our total capital per each trade. By the way, this doesn't mean to close the position when it goes 3% against us. It closes it when we are losing 3% of our total capital. It's a bit different. And then it is submitting the order using a buy order. The first parameter is the quantity of it, and the second is the price. Now for short trades, it is doing the opposite, which is correct. Now this one also must be here and return true. Now what it does is, because we're using limit orders, what would happen if we submit the order, but it doesn't get filled during that candle? Well, when the next candle comes, we want to cancel the previous one and submit a new order using the current conditions, such as the current ATR value. And when the position opens, it submits the stop loss like this, 4 times the current ATR minus the entry price of the position. And it is also using the quantity of the current position for the stop loss. For the take profit, it's doing exactly the same, except 3 times the ATR. Also, instead of subtracting the price, it is adding it. And for a short position, it's doing exactly the opposite. So this is perfect. So let's go up here and copy the whole thing, go to Jesse's dashboard and create a new strategy. I'm going to call it TEMA trend following. Let's paste the whole thing here. Go to backtesting page. The exchange is Binance Perpetual Futures. The route BTC USDT is correct. The trading time frame must be 30 minutes. Here, let's choose TEMA trend following. We also have one data route because we're using the bigger time frame, which is 4 hours with the same symbol. And let's begin by backtesting the first 6 months of 2025. Let's enable the interactive charts, the fast mode, and the benchmark feature. So let's run it. And there it is. So let's scroll down. The P&L is 32%. The max drawdown is -3%, which is crazy. The win rate is 81%. The average holding time is 12 hours. The Sharpe ratio is 4.34. Now, by the way, this is a bit too good to be true. Like, yes, we're getting it on 2025, but I don't expect it to be this good in all the periods. And I'm going to backtest it on other periods just in a second. Let's take a look at the interactive charts. so we can see the type of trades that it took. So for instance, it opens it here and closes it here. It opens it here and closes it here. We can also see the trades here, and let's see, there's one that I really want to see, like this one. I can just click on it and it will take me to it, right? So this is where we sold and this is where we close our short with a loss. Then again, we have here. And if you want to see the details of any trade, by the way, click on it and you can see the orders. And then if you click on just any of them, you can also see other metrics such as the quantity of that trade, the entry price, the exit price, the fees that we paid, and the P&L. But actually, something really helpful with these strategies is to see the indicator values when we are taking a trade. So let's go back to JesseGPT and simply ask the AI to add the values for us. I need you to add values for the charts so I can debug the strategy. All right, so it added this after function here, which will do just that. So let's copy the whole thing, go to Jesse's dashboard, press new session, click here to see the code of the strategy and paste the whole thing here. Now, by the way, this watch list that it added is really helpful, but only if you are trading the strategy live. So it's not really for backtesting. So I'm gonna remove this and let's go back here and click the backtest one more time. Let's go to view charts. And now, not only we can see the trades, we can also see the TEMA values. So 10 and 80 periods. We can also see the ADX. So for example, when it opened this long position, we can see the ADX value is indeed above the threshold. So it was at 50 and the value for CMO was also above 40. So let's take a look at the short trade like this one. So again, the ADX is above 40 and the value for CMO is above minus 40. Right, so now let's backtest it on other periods. In fact, I'm gonna backtest it as early as 2021, which is the amount of candles that I have, up until the 6th month of 2025. Now, to make sure the backtest will go faster, I'm going to disable this line here, which is for charts. Go back here. And by the way, if you don't want to use the editor inside Jesse's dashboard, you can always use something such as the VS Code and look up your strategy. So for instance, TEMA trend following, and you can see the code here and you can edit it right from here instead of the dashboard. All right, so everything looks good now. Let's start it. Now, while this is going, I want to also run another one without this benchmark value here. Let's run it. So while that's going, I want to quickly remind you guys about Apex Omni, which is my favorite DEX made by the team behind Bybit. It has low trading fees, instant order execution, and of course, no KYC whatsoever. If you're going to check them out, please consider using our link, which not only will give you trading fee discounts, but it will also support me in order to make more videos like this. And there we go. So by the way, this max drawdown here is really awesome. It allows me to easily add to the size of my position. In fact, let's go here and increase the size of the position with a number such as 3, and also do the same thing in my short positions. So, and if I go to the benchmark page, I can just rerun both of them simultaneously, which is really cool. And you know what, while this is going, let's also duplicate this one, go to here and backtest each year separately. So starting 2021 up until 2022, again, let's enable benchmark, disable interactive charts, start it. Let's do the same since the beginning of 2022 up until 2023, 2023 up until 2024, and since the beginning of 2025 up until the 6th month. All right, so this is for 2021. We are clearly beating the market. The drawdown is minus 20%, which is great. The P&L is 167%. We paid this much in fees. So that means if we started with $10,000, we would have ended with 26,700. Now, the win to loss ratio is 0.65, and that is because for our take profit, we're using 3 times of the ATR, and for a stop loss, we're using 4 times. But on the other hand, the win rate is 71%. So you could say it's more similar to a mean reversion rather than a typical trend following. The average holding time is 44 hours. The Sharpe ratio is 1.98, which is really great. Let's look at 2022. So here's the equity curve. We ended with 35% PNL. The max drawdown is minus 30%. Actually, let's just look at the equity curves. So this is for 2023. We didn't beat the market. I mean, in the beginning we did, but in the end we didn't. And this is for 2025, which, I mean, this is just off the charts. Now, let's also compare them from the benchmark page. Oh, I forgot 2024. So let's also backtest this one. All right, there we go. So this is also really good. So we made 300% P&L. The max drawdown is minus 25%. The win rate is 75%. And the win to loss ratio is still 63. The Sharpe ratio is near 3, which is again off the charts. So let's also compare them inside the benchmarking page. So here are the P&L. They're all positive. The max drawdown is also really good. On our best year, it was minus 9.2%. On our worst year, it was minus 37%. The Sharpe, at the worst year, it is 0.8. At the best year, it is 4.3. And the annual return is on average above 100% for sure. All right, so this looks really great. Also, let's take a look at the equity curve of the whole 4.42 years. So this is it. And this is if we consider the price of BTC itself. So you see, as soon as here, we are beating the market. And then after that, we were always in profit. But here's the thing, some people only care about the ending number, the P&L. They read this and they're like, wow, close to 5,000%. So that means this strategy must be making money for me all the time. Well, that's not true. So if you take a closer look at this equity curve, yes, we ended here, which is amazing, but we had so many drawdown periods. So for example, in here, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you see, for about 8 or 9 months, I didn't calculate it exactly, we were in a drawdown period. So that means if we started trading the strategy, let's say from here, up until this moment, we would have been in a loss. Or if we started here, we would have been in a loss for 2 or 3 months. Now, in here, we didn't lose much. You could say this is a range, but still, this took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. For about 7 or 8 months, our equity curve would have been flat. So trust me when I say if you were trading in this live, you would not have been happy during this period. In fact, most of us wouldn't have continued trading it and would have never seen this huge jump in our equity curve. Now, in here, it was really great, so no complaints. It also did pretty well here and here. So yeah, most of the times it's making money, it's going up, and that's really great. But there are drawdown periods. And I really want to emphasize on this, that if you are going to trade a strategy like this, you shouldn't trade all your capital just with this one single strategy. In fact, you want to have a basket of strategies like this one, so that while one of them is going through a drawdown period, like in this case, for example, your other strategy is making money during the same period, and they're going to offset each other. In fact, maybe even instead of 2 strategies, you could run 10 of them simultaneously. Now, this is a big topic that I am going to talk about more maybe in a separate video, but I just want to emphasize that just don't only look at the ending number, especially P&L, because at least you want to consider the risk. And for that, read another number such as the Sharpe ratio or Kalmar ratio. I'm going to submit the results of this strategy and the code on our website's strategy page, where you can find the results of this strategy on different symbols and time frames if you're curious about that. Also, you can find my other strategies and their metrics to maybe create your own basket of strategies as I just described. Now, before I leave, we're gonna have a giveaway. A random person who likes this video, posts a comment and subscribes to the channel is going to win 1 million bank token. Alright, let's pick the winner for the previous video. And the winner is Malik. Sorry I cannot pronounce your whole name. Thank you so much for your comment. Please reach out to me so that I can send you your bank tokens. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.